Good evening. This is a Chicago Computer Society West Side Computer Club meeting for February 2025. Sanford cannot be with us tonight. He's in the Mayo Clinic, so I'm stepping in to help out. I will say this, I went for a blood test this morning and didn't realize how bad the little bit of ice coating was on the porch, and I got to the bottom faster than walking down.
Mm.
After I got the blood test, they recommended me to go to the hospital to at least be checked out. I was there at least 4 hours or more.
God.
You can't believe the number of people in there. They even had in all waiting areas and hallways folding chairs, wheelchairs, the regular chairs that they have, and many people in gurneys, all there that have to go through the triage and registration, etc.,
Yeah.
before getting in for the actual services. And I sprained a shoulder. So I'm,
Ouch.
yeah, it was an oucher. And it still is a little, but it's a little bit better. I got a cortisone shot and uh, a pain killing patch that I take off in the morning.
Many years ago, I tore a rotator cuff, so I know what goes on with shoulders.
Man, I'm telling. And the thing is, a lot of people had masks. I didn't have mask, and I could have gotten one, but I wasn't planning on that being needed. Not understanding all the people that were there, and some were sick. There was one guy that was really bad, trying to literally throw up his guts. It sounded like more than once.
Yeah.
And when I was done waiting for my brother to come pick me up, it was kind of funny. I watched a coroner's wagon pass by.
Yeah, that'll get you thinking.
Yeah, it sure does. I don't know.
Yeah, I, at least in my area, the hospitals have declared that there is a high incidence of respiratory illness. So we're near the peak of the season.
Oh yeah, it's that way in Indiana here, and it's getting that way in Illinois.
Yeah, yeah, they're talking about that too.
They were not as high as Indiana was, but
Oh,
still, it's going over the border because we're so close to the state line that people cross both ways in droves. At any rate, the
Okay.
topic tonight that I decided on was people with Windows 10. What's the plan? What are you going to be doing? And at the same time, when I open this up, I want people who are already on 11 fairly new. I'm old timer on 11. I want you to speak up as to things you find about 11 that people who haven't seen 11 uh, can benefit from, such as the change in the look, where things are, and so on and so forth. Now, one thing to try and control this a little bit, down in the bottom section of your Zoom manual, your Zoom screen, you should see a raise hand icon. If you do not, right, there's a heart, and that's called react. And if you click on that, the bottom button is raise the hand. When you are done talking, lower your hand. All right, I'll open the floor to open discussions on what are we going to do on 10. Who wants to be first? Well, if this is it, then we can all say goodnight.
Well,
There is no other presentation. Tom?
Well, I'm currently on 10, but the only reason I'm there is because the computer will not handle 11.
Okay.
I don't drive, so I'm not getting out to purchase the machine, the laptop to go to 11. However, I plan to purchase something that's got the abilities to handle 11 very well. What can I say? I do plan to get to 11 quite soon. I don't know when. That's the only thing holding me back is because I just can't get out to get one.
Well, I can't either in a sense, but I do a lot of my shopping online, so I know what I'm looking for.
Well, I do a lot of mine online too, but I'd like to see what I'm getting in that case. I don't really know what's out there or what to look for.
Especially in a laptop that's advisable, because sometimes the keyboard layout is a little weird and people have different size hands. So it's good to get a feel of that keyboard and see how it feels to you. Does it feel like it's a very easy keyboard to deal with, or is it a kind of a headache? And then you get into things like performance and stuff like that. How much storage does it have? All new laptops come with them closed up and the batteries inside. It's not supposed to be changeable, but believe me, me and other techs change these things all the time. So it is changeable. Anybody else? Okay, Dennis.
What's the exact date that support ends on 10 again?
The last update is October 2025.
And that's when they're going to end support for
That's
10?
right.
Okay.
And then after that, you do have an option that they don't want you to take. Um you can get an additional year of just security updates for $30. If you
Hmm.
want the second year, you'll have to pay $60. And if you want the third year, and that's as far as they're talking about going, you'll have to pay $120. So altogether, you'll have to pay $210 for 3 years of just security updates, no bug fixes, and no enhancements.
Okay.
But you're not getting enhancements right now, anyhow. 22H2 was the last version to have any kind of enhancements. So you've only been getting bug fixes and you're getting the security updates.
I only have one Windows 10 computer that I do my financial stuff on. The only time I don't do email on it. The only time I ever connect it to the internet is I use TurboTax. So I will periodically connect it just to download the updates, and then right away I pull the internet connection. Don't connect it. Therefore, I haven't done any even Windows 10 updates on that particular computer for probably 2 years. So
That's
my
not good.
question, pardon?
That's not good.
Well,
Because
that's what I'm going to have.
even in the short time to go to TurboTax and download the updates, you can already be infected with all kinds of different kinds of malware, as well as the possibility of a hacker getting into it.
Okay.
So that's not a
Well,
great idea.
I do have another question. I didn't want to do anything until after I did my turbo taxes for this year over the next month or so.
Well, you
Uh,
also have some other potential options. I'm not saying you yourself would want to try and do them, but you can use virtual machines and run a virtual machine of 10 on, say, a Windows 11 or a Linux system or a Mac. And you could then have basically the same 10 you got now and keep using your Windows software that only runs in Windows. Okay. Another one is you can, a lot of the tax programs now, they're being forced to because uh, so many people want it, is you can do your taxes online. And they have
Yeah.
similar security like the banks do and other financial institutions.
Okay. Well, my question is this. So after I get through tax season here, if I then start connecting my Windows 10 computer and tell it, because I think, TurboTax may say next year, oh, you got to be on 11, we won't support 10. They keep raising it all the time, requirement.
All the software will eventually disappear, just like it did for XP and is happening with 7
Yeah.
and even 8.1
Okay.
because the developers don't want to support all that old stuff. They
Right.
want everybody on the newer stuff. Uh, a lot of it is coming with AI, and
Yeah.
AI is the hottest thing going right now. And so more and more people want that, and more you have to have either a Intel Ultra CPU that contains an NPU or certain riser AMD processors have a similar neural processing unit. But at the same time, too, much of that is going to probably still be on the supercomputers, especially for online tax preparation. And therefore, you may still need the internet connection in order to get AI to analyze and maybe find things that might apply to you to get you the maximum return.
Okay.
Or you made an error, you need to correct and adjust this, and this is why.
Yeah. Well, here's my other question. So after I get through taxes, I'm all done, it's all filed. And then if I start connecting my Windows 10 to the internet and say, okay, Microsoft, go ahead and start doing updates. Does it go through every single update for the past 2 years, or does
No.
Microsoft
So,
consolidate updates
yes, they
recently?
consolidate. Actually, they don't even consolidate. Some of the updates they did are superseded by another one, so they drop the old one,
Okay.
etc. And then, so you'll get a fair number. But here's the thing: you better have good AV program on there. Windows Defender on 11 is very good, but it also relies upon the new demand in hardware features to get that higher level. 10 doesn't have those, so it's not as high. If you're using a third party, you have to remember whatever AV program you have, has it ever been updated in the last 2 years? Probably not, because you didn't update Windows itself.
Right.
So that means initially your connection, and for I don't know how many minutes, you may be in jeopardy.
Okay.
That's why you can't let this stuff go. You got to keep it up to date. Your regular application software, if it's freeware, there are programs. I've done presentations on a couple of them that will give you the ability to easily update your software. And if you do that too, that fixes bug fixes in that software. It also plugs up security holes, even though sometimes when they plug them, and that includes Microsoft, they create new ones just so they'll have something to do for next month.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you got a combination mix here. All software changes and must change and update, or you when you're on the internet, you have multiple points of vulnerability that knowledgeable bad people can attack and try and get control of your computer.
yeah. Well, and then another thing I was thinking about, another way to go was after this tax season, since 11 is coming up fast, maybe I'll just turn this Windows 10 computer into a Linux and just buy myself another lower end Windows 11 that I can do my financial stuff into the future. So that's
That's a
another.
doable option, and that's not a joke.
Yeah.
I don't tend to buy much, if any, brand new software hardware in computers. I buy used ones, usually off of eBay. But almost as soon as I get them, I just test them to see that they are working if they were supposed to be when I bought them. And then I start upgrading the suckers. If they are bare bones type systems that I buy, I get the components, put them in, and fire it up and make sure that it's working as well.
Hmm.
But that's me. I'm a tech, and most people are not a tech,
Yeah.
and probably can't handle most of that. So, but you have to get an Intel 8th gen CPU in the machine. I recommend that you have an at least one M.2 slot in the machine. I recommend that you have the ability to put in 4 memory modules. And there's a reason I say that. There are a lot of gamer boards come with only 2 memory sticks
Hmm.
slots. And the thing is, right now, the bare minimum anybody should be running is 8 gigabytes of RAM memory, period. And that's bare bones. And if you want better performance, now if it's a laptop or certain models that call themselves a desktop, they use SODIMM laptop memory, and you only have a maximum of 2 you can put in. But you can put in an 8 and a 4 and have 12 gig. That's better than 8. And you can put in 2 8s and have 16.
Uh,
But depending on the age of the machine and certain other characteristics, you may be able to put in more memory, but usually it requires you to take something out that you've already got to put
sure.
in a new one that has higher capacity.
Okay.
Nowadays, it's not uncommon to have 16 gig memory modules and 32 gig memory modules, even 64. But it's a gradual increase from the 8th generation Intel and the 2000 through 9000 Ryzen series processors, and not all of them handle 11, but most of them do. The other thing that you must think about, at least, and I don't care who you are here, you have to think about what is the machine that I am buying. Now, what I mean by that is there is business class and consumer class. Business class, you probably almost always buy used, but you can buy new. And you get updates, including BIOS updates, for past 5 years of life. Consumer grade does not go past 5 years, if it even goes as high as 5 years. And so you have that. Drivers, you'll get driver support longer in a business one. the quality build and parts in a business class system is much higher than consumer class. So that's a factor. Other factors that you have to take into account right now, mini computers like Bob Premick has, they're about not quite 5 inches by 5 inches square, and anywhere between an inch and a quarter. The highest I think I've seen is about 3 inches. Those are classified desktops, but the processor is a laptop CPU. Then you have units like I've shown several times that I get. These are 7 by 7 by about an inch and a quarter. HP, you have Dell Optiplex, Lenovo I think it's ThinkPad or ThinkIdea. I don't remember which, but at any rate, these have limitations too, but the CPU is changeable within the same generation. So if I bought one of these with say a Core i3, but I need more horsepower, I can put a same generation of the CPU chip of an i5 or an i7. I don't know if any handle i9. And i9 is usually gamers or people doing tech support and stuff like that. They usually have one M.2, and they may come with, or you can get your hands on extra, a 2.5-inch drive bay. But there are a few models that come with two M.2s, and you can't always use the 2.5-inch tray. Connections on the back, I got plenty of USB, and I have display ports are a big heavy thing. You may need adapters if your monitor does not take display port, such as HDMI, old VGA, DVI. There's at least one in here usually that is changeable. You have two memory slots, but this one here comes in two grades, so to speak. There's a 35-watt grade, and you can tell it by the fact that this is all solid. And then there's a 65-watt, and this area here has lots of perforation holes for heat of the CPU primarily, but also your NVMe drives. So you have something there to think about. The NVMe drives, if you're not aware of them, if you're not even aware of M.2, hang on a minute here. I'll see if I can find where I hid some of my junk. Trust me, I got lots of junk. I'm not finding it right now. Shoot. There he is. Knew I'd find it somewhere up there. I got parts wazoo, out the wazoo. If you are not fully aware of M.2, there's M.2 SATA, and the probability is you're not going to get any kind of a machine that takes M.2 SATA. So don't worry about it. That's an M.2 drive. This is an NVMe. They are dinky. There are units that come in 120, 128, 240, 250, 256, and 480, 500, 512, 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte. There might even be a 3, by the way. There were certain SSDs that were made as a how do I want to put it? They were basically made to be able to handle certain characteristics, but they get hot. NVMe's get much hotter than an SATA drive. There are currently 3 generations of M.2 NVMe's. One's a PCIe 3, one's a PCIe 4, and a PCIe 5. They can run so hot that the 4s may need a heat sink and the 5s might need water cooling. And that's not a joke. But they're, all those machines are backward compatible. In a PCIe 5 machine board, you can stick in a PCIe 4 or a 3 and they'll still work. The 3 will get you roughly a transfer rate of around 7 point something gigabytes, whereas SATA inside has a theoretical 6, but you always get less than that. And it depends somewhat on the chips that were used by the manufacturer of that particular drive model. PCI 4 goes faster. I think that's up around 10. And I don't remember what 5 is. So these are some of the characteristics you have to be thinking about. More and more people may have to consider getting a graphics card that in the past they didn't bother with. But because of AI, if you're not using it, you need to at least look into it, understand what it is, etc. They can benefit from a graphics card in helping in the processing. Zoom meetings also benefit from a graphics card, and you need at least 2 gigs or more. So that means you can buy a used card, because the new ones, the highest end, may cost you $1,500 or more.
Oh,
So that's another characteristic you have to be aware of. Also, if you're really enthusiastic on AI, there are people that are buying new machines with the Ultra Intel processor, the AMD processor, and now an ARM processor also. And those have a neural processing unit built into the chip. And that's so that you can do AI things on your computer with your information to mine all the knowledge of what you have on your computer first. Then you can go to the outside for additional information. But you cannot totally trust what AI gives you right now. They make there are in many of them a setting that allows you to get precise answers, balanced answers, and creative answers. Creative answers hallucinate. Great for creating children's stories. But the more accuracy you want, especially in computer information, you want to go to the precise. You might do okay with balance, but the main thing is to go with precise. That's AI model is your troubleshooting tool for the computers, because the troubleshooting tools that have come with Windows are being depreciated and eliminated. Okay, anybody else got comments here? I'm wanting to know, besides Dennis, what you're going to do. I don't know why Harry Nelson left, but he did. Generally speaking, Harry is on 10 too, and I doubt if his equipment can go to 11. So,
What arts in?
does anybody else have any plans on 10? We've heard from Tom, we've heard from Dennis. I've got 10. That's not your hands up, that's a thumbs up, and that's uh, means that you like what you're seeing and hearing. At the bottom of reaction is a button that says hands up. Yes. Okay. Uh, first, okay. We'll go with you, Will. You haven't been around a long time.
Yeah, I've been busy with
Hey,
health.
you can't.
Yeah,
You can't be busier than me in Sanford.
well, busy with health issues and my wife's health issues, and decided to try to get back involved here again. But it's good to see you. Uh, I had heard somewhere along the way that there is a way that you can update to Windows 11 on the old hardware, and
I,
I'm not sure if you've run into that or not. I think
I
that
am one of the people that play with it. The machine I'm talking to you on right now is a Core 2 Duo that was changed to a Core 2 Quad processor that's 15 years old, and it has a graphics card, and I upgraded that to at least a 2 gig card because Zoom started killing me with all the add-on stuff that they've been putting into Zoom. Uh, that software, you have to have first a clear understanding of that. It's still Microsoft software, okay? So don't think it's not. What they do is they try and bypass security issues. Now, this machine cannot upgrade to 24H2. I'm on 23H2. And the reason is they're looking for a microcode in the chip, CPU chip. And anything that's got an Intel Core i 357 or 9 likely is a-okay because I've done some testing with some software. But it's not for everybody. You got to have a certain. Oh, Harry's coming back.
How old is your machine, Will?
I'm guessing about 5 years old.
Oh,
I bel
you'll be fine.
It's got an i7, I believe.
That's
Or is
fine. It has nothing to do with the model number. It has to do with whether it has the microcode. But not everybody can handle it. They get scared to try and do anything to their computer, and as an end result, they won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's they're afraid of electrocution. Uh, it also is not all that clean, and as the years go by, 24H2 may go in today, 25H2 may not because it may have a new requirement that can't be bypassed. And that microcode it's looking for right now in 24H2 of Windows 11 is not in my Core 2 processors, but they are in the newer processors. Uh, the funny part about it is I have some AMD Phonem and Phonem 2. AMD Phonem CPU systems will not upgrade to a challenged version of Windows 11, but Phonem 2 does. I can run Windows 11 right now on a Phonem 2 system that's right next to this other one. I've got lots of computers, Will. But generally speaking, it's doable. right now,
Well, isn't there a website, Tim, that Will could go to that kind of
uh,
tells him
uh,
whether his machine is upgradable?
if you don't, wait a minute, nobody does this for you unless it's a tech like me or another one in a store. This is the standard 23H2 that I'm on right. Well, not on this machine. I'm not on it, but I have it on other machines. Windows 11. I've been on it for 3 years, and this one here says almost the same thing, but it says 23H2 US. US means unsupported. If you run into a problem and you're the kind of person who wants to call up Microsoft, give them a credit card, they'll help you out. They won't touch you with a 10-foot pole if you're on an unsupported version, meaning you got hardware that's non-compliant. That's another reason why a lot of people will not touch it. Also, the fact that down the line, at any time, your computer will become obsolete because they will not put a new version on. Each version has a lifespan of 18 months. That's it, of support. After 18 months, you'd get no more updates unless it's an emergency type update and it's strictly for security. Now, with that, you have other options. Some people might want to go out and buy an Apple product. Support is about 5 years, and they automatically obsolete it. Then you have, especially for seniors, you can go to Chromebook. Chromebook was 7, but I think they've upped it on the new machines to 10 years. And Microsoft had been the only one with 10 years support. The last option is to go to Linux. We do have a Linux group. And Linux gives you, it's almost like going out and deciding what kind of car you want, what kind of features do you want. And you go around to umpteen different model makes and so forth, looking for things, etc., including the color. That's Linux. Linux gives you variety and independence. Microsoft and Apple, whatever the desktop looks like, they made it. They give you a tiny little bit of ability to make some adjustments, or you have to get third parties, like has existed for Windows 10 Start menu, and it exists for 11 Start menu. With Linux, there's about 18 different desktops at least, and they go from super light to full featured desktops like GNOME and KDE. So there's a ton of possibilities that can be done by people, but there's a learning curve to Linux, and you have to accept that it's going to take a long time to do. If you're on 10 and you haven't really been touching a Windows 11 system, there's dramatic changes. And because of those dramatic changes, this bothers a lot of people. Now, on this machine here, I don't get all the features of 11 because it's of its age. But let's see here. I'll go over to this other machine. Hang loose for a minute. All right, here. Yeah. All right. Now, isn't that a pretty desktop?
It's blank.
No, it's not blank. It's blacked out
Okay.
because of the video that I create. And I always black the screen. So if I do this, hang on a minute. I got to do this afterwards anyhow. There's my desktop icons. I go to personalize, background, and I want to go to Windows Spotlight. That's the desktop. This is the taskbar. Now this taskbar, they have an option. I can move it all the way to the left like 10 has. What you're not seeing over here in the left corner is a widgets icon. I don't want to mess with the widgets, so I disabled it. This here is the search, and normally it comes up as a rectangle like it did on 10, but you have the ability to change it to this icon only or eliminate it altogether. And truthfully, the Windows search is pretty bad. This here is Copilot. It can be run from here on the desktop, or if you keep and use Edge, there's also the option in Edge. All the AI clients that are out there, you can access via the browser and go to the sites and see what's what. Now, here's where it starts getting yummy. Here's the start menu. These are pinned apps. You have control over the sequence. You have the control of what appears there and what doesn't appear. This is either recommended or something that you've used recently. For your installed applications, especially if you don't like desktop icons cluttering your screen, you go to All, and you have your list just like in 10. And just like in 10, I don't have to scroll. I want a W. So I go there and I go down to W, and I've got all the W's and whatever follows after. And they gave me the V one also. So you have a lot of change in the look and feel. If you're used to using control panel, it's gradually and slowly disappearing. It won't probably be more than a year or two. There won't be a control panel. And what I want to do here is go to, this is the search. You type in, oops, I have a problem with this mouse on my lap. Control-L. And there's control panel. So I'm going to just click on it, bring it up. This is all that's left of control panel. If you look at what's here versus what you even have on a Windows 10 system, you'll see that an awful lot of stuff isn't there anymore. And you're going to see less and less and less and eventually nothing. So I'm trying to prepare you for that little idiosyncrasy. You have desktops, 10 has it too. They default to 2, and you can spread your workload across multiple windows, and you can add windows. This one here allows me to add a second window. And if I hit it, the plus sign again, it'll add a third window and a fourth window. You can at least have 4 windows if you want to, and have different programs running on each of the 4 windows. They're called virtual windows, and basically you can do pretty much what you want without the usual single window desktop clutter that most people experience. But how many people are using that? Honestly, I don't know. It's something that I'll bet only people that know Linux and Apple products may be using it. Outside of that, there aren't too many Windows users that know it exists or understand what it is. This is the File Explorer. This has changed too. In File Explorer on this 11, you now have tabs. So I can have on one tab, I'm pointing at one place, and I can have a second tab pointing at another place and do copy and paste or drag and drop, at least to some extent. You have your column here of your folders and drives and stuff like that. There's some gotchas on installation. They want you to have the OneDrive, but if you have the OneDrive, it wants to do a backup of a lot of your folder stuff so that if you wipe out and you have no backup, which is suicide, then you can take the Windows system, reinstall it, and copy everything saved to the OneDrive back down. You've got that at least. And that's mostly your data files. But all your programs, you're going to have to add in. Any settings in the operating system you made, you're on your own because you're going to have to make all those changes unless you have the OneDrive. OneDrive will save the settings and will eventually put them back, but it may be not instantaneous. It waits for a period of time when things are kind of idle. You're not doing too much. So that's another neat factor to know about. Now I'm going to come up here again. This is your new settings. This has reminiscence of 10, but very different. You have in here system data, and that includes your display, your audio, mouse, all kinds of different settings. Now, this is on home right now. That's a new category. System, here's your display, audio, notifications, focus. That's on 10 too, but I don't know how many people are using it. Power, storage. There's a change there. There's what's called storage sense. Recommend having it on if it isn't on. What it does is it tells you how full your drive is and categorizes what is in that total install. So you have installed apps taking up that much. Temporary files right now is that. This is video files, picture files, and other people. And the people app is supposed to die. I know that. Then you come down to, this is for Bluetooth connectivity for devices like printers and scanners are in here. Mobile devices, they have your phone is mostly geared to Android phones. However, they can hook up iPhones. So, but it doesn't have all the features that an Android phone is capable of. Cameras, such as your webcam camera, mouse, pin if you got one, or Windows Ink. That's if you got a touch screen. Autoplay and USB. Then you go into networks, internet. I'm on Ethernet on lots of my machines, and I have on other machines both Ethernet and Wi-Fi, and some machines only Wi-Fi. And you can set up a VPN as well. You can mobile hotspot if you got an Android. I don't know if that works with an iPhone. You have airplane mode, and that's so you don't get too much disturbing things happening on your connected phone. And proxies and dial-up is still in here. I don't understand totally why, but it generally has to do with people out in very rural areas don't have Starlink or HughesNet, to name two satellite ones. They're still using dial-up modems. And then you have advanced network settings. You got personalizations. This is backgrounds, and they got Spotlight. Spotlight works, but you got to know a couple little tricks to get it to work good. They also have programs that are free in Microsoft Store for wallpapers, and I use those. Uh, Colors. This is for the like the top bar up here, and a any kind of a frame around your window will be a color that you set. You have themes. You got dynamic lighting, which I haven't dug into. I doubt I have it, but I'm assuming it will brighten and dim as necessary. You have a lock screen. That's where you log into your system as a user, and you can have Spotlight on that screen as well. And they're very beautiful pictures. Text input, I didn't get into that one yet. It has to do with keyboards and some other devices for typing. You can make adjustments. You have start menu, and there's another place for that too. And this start menu is the one that shows up here, not the start menu that some would think of a start folder of programs that automatically start up. And if you think 10 is bad for adding programs that put something in the startup folder, boy, you ain't seen 11. Uh, Taskbar, you can make some adjustments there. Taskbar, this is where I change search to the icon only. I can hide it all together. I can have the search icon. I can have the icon and label. I don't know why you need it. And you can also have the original search box like that. I prefer the icon. I don't want some of my desktops, the icons are pretty long, and I don't need something like that search taking up space. Taskbar, you've got view, and this is something you need to keep on. Widgets I turn off, and then it gets into some other features of pen operations, touch keyboard, and virtual touchpad, and some other odds and ends. Then you have apps. This startup down here at the bottom is the startup folder. You have control of this. Anything that's got this kind of a greenish switch is turned on, that program will launch, and that's an AV program. So I definitely want that on. You don't turn it off. It's part of your protection. But I have a browser here. I turned it off. I don't want it to start up right away. I'll start up my browsers when I'm good and ready. You have Control Center. That's for an AMD graphics card. I don't need it. I'll launch it when I want to launch it, so it's off. I have DuckDuckGo Startup Boost. That one right now I'm experimenting with. It's a fairly new feature. Right now I have it on. Otherwise, in the past I've had it turned off. You have I have everything. It's a program that puts Microsoft Search to shame. It's very fast. And so that has to be on when I start up. You also have management and security status. You want that on, but some of these others are not really needed, so I turn them off, minimizing the amount that's going to start up when I start up, log into my computer and take up time before I can use the computer. So I control that. The other, and then you come up to the left corner here, go back, and I get the other categories that are here. This is all installed apps, default apps. You have, whoops, this is advanced settings for apps. This one down here is the default. You have offline maps. You have a couple other categories here, and I don't know how much people really use them. And I'm trying to go through this fast. Accounts. This is the logins. This is me right now. And I have these various options that can be done. Most of them are here for like I can use a sign in option, and one of them is a PIN number. So I just have to type a PIN number and I'm in. That can be up to 6 characters long. It defaults to numeric, but there's a little box below it that if you put a check mark in, you can make your PIN code alphanumeric, which is even tougher to break. It's mostly just to keep nosy people out of your system. Then you have email accounts, so forth. You can create new users that will log in. When you get an 11 system that came that way, that's the way you bought it, the very first thing it wants to do is to install the administrator. And that's the way Microsoft has always done it. Do not use your name or whatever you like to use as your regular login daily account. Use admin, master, something like that, and don't connect it to a Microsoft account. They're going to bark about that too. Sometimes that requires bypasses, and there are a couple bypasses out there to eliminate the headache. And you just set up a local administrator account. Then you come into the account here and you add a new user. That'll be your daily standard account for your Windows. This applies also to Windows 10 for as long as it has existed, which is 9+ years. There's tons of things in here. Now, another thing that's different on 10, if you go into Windows Update, you see a lot of options. Here's Windows Update at the bottom here. That's all you get. All the rest of the stuff that on 10's Windows Update category have been moved to mostly to system. You have ease of use in here. You've got gaming, which I don't do much of anyhow. Accessibilities and privacy. Privacy dramatically changed. You have new categories up here. You got a few more in here. You no longer have for in here that you do in 10. There was a category somewhere about in here that was for background processes. I usually turned it off, period. And it turned off all of them. You can't do that in 11. You have to go program by program by program, and some programs will not give you the ability to turn it off in background, and some will. It's going to take you a lot of time to go through that one. But there's a lot of new ones in here, including down here, shared folders. so that you can share folders with your phone, other people who come over to your house, etc., etc. So this is heavy duty change. And what I recommend to anybody and everybody, get some kind of exposure to Windows 11 well before October. If you wait till the last minute, that would be also like waiting till the last minute and I want to switch to Linux. You're going to be doing nothing for a long time because that takes quite a bit of time to get used to. But Dennis is a new one to it, so Dennis has already converted one of his machines. I did it for him. And even Wayne is still somewhat new, but he's got more time than Dennis has. And
And I've got a Windows 11 PC I've had for several years.
okay, no, but I was talking about Linux. I was talking about Linux.
Oh no, I
Linux,
haven't done.
You got more experience than Dennis does, but you're still very much a newbie to it.
I don't have time right now. We're midst of moving. And what.
Hey, Will, was part of your question is whether your machine would upgrade to 11 or no?
Yeah, that was part of it. I ran into a YouTube, and I don't remember which one it was, but they were touting the fact that you could upgrade a Windows 10 machine to 11. That originally there was a.
I've been
I think-
doing that for about 2 years now,
Okay.
so I know about it.
So there's
I know what I'm doing with it. I'm a tech. I have mechanical aptitude too, so I can also deal with hardware issues, etc. Doesn't
So
mean I
Phil-
know everything, but at least with this other 11 that's unsupported, in a manner of speaking, you're on your own. I got to make that clear.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't like, you said, even if it works now, the next version of 11 that comes out, it might not work.
That's
So
correct.
I
That's
don't- that's a-
100% correct.
Now you're on a sitting time bomb.
A lot of people will look at it that way, and I'm not joking when I say that, because I see a lot of other stuff besides CCS, and I'm in other groups, and I see tons and tons of stuff on that I put in more FYI or handouts at meetings. At any rate, that right now they shocked a lot of people. For the first 3 years, it wasn't that bad getting a workaround to bypass the hardware requirements you did not meet. Okay, that's number one. But in 24H2, they're adding tons of AI, and they decided most people need to be upgraded on a real supported system for this. So they're checking a microcode inside the CPU chip. If you have that code, you can at least bypass. You don't have to bypass it. It's non-bypassable. There's no way of bypassing it. But if you got the code, your system will work. If you don't have that code, it ain't going to work. Now, down the road, they might select a different microcode. Non-bypassable. You cannot bypass microcodes that are built into the CPU. It's the instruction codes that execute everything in the CPU. So if they select one that only an 8th generation system or higher in Intel, they select one of those new ones and put it in. All the first generation through 7th generation Intel chips will not run that version. That's a real possibility. Also, at some point in time, they might say, okay, I'm looking for a microcode, but it's got to be a 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th generation CPU chip. If you ain't got one, you ain't going.
How do you determine what generation CPU chip that you have? I'm not used to that terminology.
All
I'm
right.
used.
Let's see here. Let me share this again. All right. Now we're going to come up. Come up to settings. I'm going to click on system. Scroll down on the right side to about. Here's the machine identification. It's an Optiplex 77 with an M, meaning a mini computer, 7 inches by 7 inches by an inch and a quarter. Then you have here, I have an Intel Core i5-9. That first number is the generation. But when it's 10 or 11, 12, 13, or 14, you have to say the first two digits are that generation number. The rest of
Okay.
the numbers are a performance model information, followed sometimes by alphabetic characters that have specific meanings. Bob?
Yeah, there's also a utility, one of Sanford's favorites, CPU-Z. That'll tell
Yes.
you everything about your processor.
Okay.
That'll do it too. You also have, if you open up a run box, you can do a Windows key R. Oops. Yeah. No, I don't want the terminal. You got to hold down the Windows key and tap the R key and release them all, and put in MSINFO32. Press enter.
Yes.
This gives you all kinds of categories and various pieces of information, including your BIOS. So computers are very complex tools, and we went from IBM's first PC with an 8088 processor, 16-bit, with an 8-bit data path. I had an 8086, which is 16-bit CPU with a 16-bit data path. And so I got a little better performance. But you're going from that era all the way to where we are now, and AI is a big thing. That takes mucho horsepower. More people are creating videos and having to edit the videos and put them up on YouTube or Instagram, TikTok, etc., etc. So these things keep accumulating more power by giving you more features, because this software keeps getting bigger, bigger, and bigger and requires more horsepower to be able to get things done without putting you to sleep. And Will, on your machine that you were looking at there that you think is about 5 years old, are you on a spinning hard drive or a solid state drive?
I've upgraded it to SSD.
Okay. At least you were smart enough for that. There's a lot of people still on spinning hard drives. All right. At the moment, those are the majority of it. But generally speaking, seriously, the best thing to do is to think about like VirtualBox. It's a virtualization system. You can set up a machine with any distro of Linux you would happen to want. If you do some tinkering, you might be able to get a Mac OS to run. And if you're really a good guy, you can get a copy of Windows 10 to work on 11, well, you can also take 11 and put it on 10. But you're going to have to do a little research to do how to set up VirtualBox and its characteristics, because what you're doing, you're sharing your machine with what you have on there now, and you're putting another operating system on it and sharing resources of CPU cores, memory, and many of your other devices. Have I talked to anybody to death so far besides Bob? Uh, in general, and this would apply if you wanted to go to Linux. If you wanted to go to Linux, the machine you got right now would be a perfect candidate for going to Linux, especially if you, instead of trying to play with the unsupported 11, because there's a lot to learn about that, then you could buy a new 11 machine, even a used one, like at uh, Micro Center. They got machines right now that are older models. They will run 11 and they'll come with 11.
I
And
didn't know Micro Center sells used machines. I was not aware of that.
yeah, they're refurbished.
Okay.
They're all refurbished, 100%. So that makes them usable because they're all cleaned up. They also take and give you, uh, I think, a small warranty, but I don't remember how much it was. It's
I've
been
been
a,
using their power spec machines for quite some time and been very happy with those. So maybe that would be another option to go with.
well, you can get new stuff there too, and or you can even get if you're capable of it, you can gut that machine there and put in new guts, motherboard, CPU, memory, etc.
I think I've done that in the past and those days are behind me.
They're not behind me. I got about 5 or 6 machines. I'm gutting machines and upgrading a bunch of machines if I ever get all the time to get to it.
Have you worked with any of these? I'm not sure what the form factor is, but they're very small machines that are maybe about that big,
That's
and you
smaller than the minis, and those are, I would call them micro machines. They take a 4x4 by 1 1/4 inch machine that's standard for most minis. There are a few that are a little bit larger than that, and they shrink it down. There's 2 models. Uh, one is about half the size, and the other one's a little smaller than that. And they're cramming as much of what's in the bigger one down into that smaller box. And there could be a headache with heating problems. So watch what you on minis in particular. You got usually only one fan. You got to check that out. You got to check the vents all the way around the box, because some of them don't have good side vents. Others do. And that side vent is extremely important to dissipate a lot of the heat since there's only one. There are some models, not too many, that will allow you to have more than one NVMe, anywhere between 2 and 4. Uh, but that's going to create a lot of heat. And some of the models are a little bit thicker. They allow a 2.5 inch laptop size drive, whether it's a spinning hard drive or an SSD, into the base, and you access that. So you can have a heck of a lot of storage on some models. You got to watch the fact that the fans die. I know. I had a neighbor who had a mini. I don't have the mini anymore. And his biggest problem was thermal shutdown because the fan died. And then when I started doing the repairs, I always check the CPU because the thermal paste tends to dry out on a lot of them. And his was bone dry because the fan died. So I had to replace the thermal paste as well. Since then, it's been working fine for him, except for something happened while he had it that one of the front USB ports didn't work. Some of the machines have USB-C connector in front. Some have it only in the back. They may be 3.0/3.1, which is 5 gigabits that we're mostly used to. You also have a 3.2 USB port that's 10 gigabits. You can have Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4, which are both USB-C. Those will go 20 to 40 gigabits per second if you got storage devices that need that kind of speed. And let's take that USB 2. That USB 2 at 10. You can take, say, the SSD you have in your machine there. You use a USB adapter. I don't have one handy at the moment, I don't think. No, I moved it. Yeah, I moved it. Anyway, it'll plug right on the end of it, and you can plug it into a USB port. You plug that thing into a 10 gigabit port, you'll get 7 point some gigabits in speed. You put in a spinning hard drive, it won't go that fast, but it'll go faster than what it would internally in that old machine because of the limitations of speed. So these are some. There's so much I can't even keep track of half of it. There's a lot of characteristics about CPUs that you got to know about. For example, if you get a Ryzen, but you get your own motherboard, and you want to build it, well, motherboards don't come with TPM. There is a socket, and you have to know the pattern of that socket plus the manufacturer and the board model, and try and find somebody selling between $25 and $50 the plug-in TPM to plug into that board. The next thing you've got is in a Ryzen, if you have the up-to-date BIOS, you have a artificial TPM you can activate, and that would be okay with Microsoft. I have Ryzen chips, and I have, if the BIOS was not up to date, I get a new BIOS update, put it in, then I can go in and activate the TPM. And that's still probably classified consumer grade, not business grade. But I have probably a third of my machines are business class.
It's the first time I've heard the different personal versus business class. What makes the difference between the two classes of machines?
Start with money,
Oh, of course.
but they're unless you're getting like a server, you a gamer's machine will cost more than the average business class machine. And the business class machine runs more than the consumer class. The quality of the parts and the build of the motherboard is better in the business class. The business class, you can get updates automatically through Windows Update, not manual update, through Windows, and update that business class machine probably for about 10 years. You can't do that with any consumer class. It's
And
5 years and less.
the updates are the operating system updates or firmware or just OS?
It's a mix.
Okay.
Windows Update handles the 23, the 24H2 upgrade, uh, but at the same time, too, you get patches for the operating system, security patches for the operating system. The first one was for bugs. And then you have any other Microsoft software that it can detect. You may get updates and patches for that stuff as well, right through Windows Update. That was not 100% true in 10, and not all updates of even drivers um, from Microsoft may work. And sometimes they try in a lot of these different ways of updating drivers, don't understand you have an older system and they're trying to put the newest, latest, greatest driver on, and it may not work because of that. You need an older version, probably the last version that was created that works on your machine. So there's tons of things. Support for a business class machine from Microsoft is a different tier than consumer grade.
So if you were to look on eBay, how do you know if it's consumer or business? Like model numbers tell you?
No, it's I'll call it knowledge through working with computers. I know that the machine that Bob Kremick has, which is that small machine, is consumer class. That is business class. The Optiplex that I have that I was sharing my screen with, that is business class. So certain manufacturers, you see these in doctor's offices galore. So about 5 years, each business will start taking out their 5-year-old equipment and replacing it with new ones. The old ones get bought up in bulk by various companies, and some of them will refurbish them. Some of them sell them as is. Some of them will sell them without the CPU, without memory, uh, and you usually don't get the SSD. But here's the thing: with laptops and some manufactured desktops, not the ones you build, they already have TPM in them so that they are compliant. Otherwise, consumer class machines wouldn't work. But when you buy a motherboard like a Micro Center to build your own, there's no TPM module. And you have to buy one and plug it in. If it's Intel, if it's an AMD Ryzen, you just might have to update the BIOS, and then you'll have an option in the BIOS setting to turn on the artificial TPM. There's more to this than you can keep track of. Nobody can, in God's green earth here, unless they're a super computer, could keep track of all the stuff just in computer technology, in hardware and software, especially the length of time that Microsoft supports hardware. This is one of the first cuts they are making with older hardware, that microcode check. And prior to that, any system they made Windows for supported all that that hardware, unless it was brand new after Microsoft put it out, the drivers and stuff, and you have to get the drivers directly from the manufacturer of that hardware until such time as Microsoft has a copy of the code and sends it out through the updates. But in 10, it's not as obvious. in Windows 11, there's a new feature. Get out of that. And I'm gonna go into the start menu. Gosh darn it. What the heck are you doing? Windows Update would be up in here, okay? Now, this here is an option. They make preview versions towards the end of the month, but some of that is beta and some of it is real fixes. And if you have a problem, sometimes this will fix it. I usually have it on, and it keeps it getting 2 updates a month instead of 1. Next Tuesday is Microsoft Update Day, second Tuesday. Somewhere around the fourth Tuesday, they do the preview releases and also Windows Defender updates. But if you come down to advanced options, then scroll down to additional options. If there's an update and I happen to have some I didn't know about, I usually check it, but I think I was a little too busy to check it this time. It says I got 3 optional updates. One's from Intel, one is from Dell. That one I haven't figured out. Well, yes, I take that back. It's an Optiplex that I'm on here right now, so that's a Dell system. And Realtek is a pain in the butt for anybody, and that's mostly audio, but they also get into hard drive controllers. I mean, Ethernet controllers and Wi-Fi controllers. And I usually load them all up. And then it says I also have other update, and it tells me I've got waiting right now an cumulative update for .NET. I'll mark that, but I'm not going to execute. I would just click here. It'll pop me back over to here, up at the top. I got to go back to here. There it is. It'll pop back here automatically and start showing you everything it's downloading and trying to install. So you got those kinds of options. And under Windows 10, you see a blue link in Windows Update under the ones that it's downloaded and installing. That one, if you click that, will show you driver updates and some other miscellaneous updates as well that you can include if you want to. A lot of people don't because printer drivers, especially for USB connected printers, forget it. And then graphics drivers are next as having to have problems, but I've only had 2 or 3 of those over 20 years. But you occasionally will come across some additional driver updates that don't work right. And here's another tip. I don't remember what year and version of 10 Microsoft turned off your system restore points. And system restore points are very, very important to, especially when you're doing updates. Because if something goes wrong, if you can still be in the system running, you can roll back without a disk, a thumb drive like the ones that I showed you here that have the operating system on them. And you have to boot up off of that, and then you can restore from that drive, that backup that was made before you did any updates. And all updating should always be preceded by a restore point, even if you manually make it. But they don't make it easy to find restore point protection in 11. A lot of things are not where you might expect them to be because it's not 10. And you're just going to have to accept that fact. Now, I'm trying to share the desktop again. Get that out of the way. I'm going to come down. Whoops, I can't come down. I'll get to this later. Okay, now I'm on the main page. Where is it now? I gotta stop and pause my brain a minute. I don't need that. Never mind. I'm gonna hold down the FN key, tap R, and bring up a run box. Oops, wrong key. And I'm gonna key in the following: S is in Sam, Y is in you, S is in Sam, D is in dog, M is in Mary, period. C is in Charlie, P is in Paul, L is in Larry. Hit enter. Now, this requires administrative privilege, so I have to type in my administrator's password. I cannot enlarge this or make it really any clearer than what it is, but this pops up here. In the middle here is advanced, and if you are smart, you come into settings here, and these are the only ones you leave checked. Everything else you uncheck. And every time you do a Microsoft update, you got to check this because they may turn them back on. This consumes resources that you want to have for your work. If you hit the middle one here, advanced, this gives you about do they give priority to programs running or background tasks, and this is where you can change your page file, which is a phony baloney addendum to your RAM memory. Normally this is checked off here. I always uncheck it. I then put in custom size. I look down here and I make a size on the first line here as close to that number but bigger, and the bottom number I make either 512 or 1024 bigger, and then you hit set, and when you reboot you'll have a new size page file that may help your performance. Don't go bananas with that, otherwise it can slow you down even on an SSD. And SSDs, just like spinning hard drives, they want to take and only get up to about 65 to 70% full, and then they start slowing you down, slowing you down, slowing you down, slowing you down, because the rest of the space is used for a ghost copy, your page file, and a few other odds and ends. So you got to take that into account. But system protection, especially on 11, that's on this tab here, and this is already set up. It says I've got this on. Odds are yours will say off. You have to go into the configuration, turn this button on. It's down here that it's off. And then you have to move this slider. How much of your disk space do you want to use for restore points? It used to default to 10%, and we had smaller drives. 10% of a small drive is big real estate. 10% on drives these days is not a big deal, but still, 10% of a terabyte drive, that's 100 gigabytes. Do you really need 100 gigabytes of restore points when usually all that are useful are the first 2 or 3 restore points that you have? Now, so I keep mine on the small side. Back to here, once I got that, I can manually create a restore point anytime I want to by clicking on this here, and it'll ask you to name what is this restore point all about, and it'll timestamp it. That way you know when you did it, and if it's too old, it's probably not going to do you any good. But usually you're dealing with the first few anyhow, no matter what. You can also come up here. This is how you get to the restore screen. And the restore screen starts off with that, just sit next. And any restore points will start listing out. And this is the drive that it's looking at. So I go next. I didn't have one available right now. Manual ones only last up to 30 days, and then they're automatically removed. Ones that programs that you are installing, especially like Windows Update, they don't expire until you run out of space, and then they drop off. Any questions on the restore point? This is something they turned off. I have no idea what they're why they did it. Mostly, I think getting to it, knowing that it exists, what it does for you is the big mystery for the majority of people using a computer. It's over their head. They don't understand it until they need it. Then all of a sudden, they might do it. Figure it out in some way or another, or find somebody to teach them what it's about and get it installed. Another little gotcha with 11, besides turning off that, and it applied to every OS Microsoft has made. You need regular backups. At least once a month, a full disk backup image. An image, not a clone. A clone is a single copy that should work. But real backups, you have multiple copies. They may not all be at your house or apartment, wherever you live. You may have one or more, the newest one, off-site, and older ones back at your house. Now, the backup I'm using is Macrim Reflect. Do not use the Windows backup in Microsoft Windows. I don't care what version you got, because that originated with Windows 7 and it hasn't been updated. Microsoft says don't use that. And the main thing you want to be able to do when the backup is done is have a verification that the backup that's on the backup disk is an exact image of what is on your computer right after that backup. And if it's good, it'll be good for as long as that backup disk survives. Outside of that, you have other options that can help you along if you want to go with just free. If you want to pay for a version, you can get incremental differential backup and restores and a few other features thrown in for the paid version. The I do not like incremental, and there's a big misconception. Incremental backup is you do usually once a day, and I'm not kidding, once a day, assuming you're using the computer once a day. Or let's put it this way, you can do a incremental backup every time you use the computer at the end of day. Then, let's say each of the system image backups are created every 30 days. So you might have, say, on the 27th of day, a fatal crash. That means you got to have the restore media that's required on all backup software. You create it on a flash drive you dedicate to that. And it usually doesn't take much. In most cases, one gigabyte flash drive will do it. The You will then restore that system image backup because that gives you the whole operating system and bootability. Then you have to take each incremental backup from the oldest date, which would be the day after you did the system backup, to the 27th day's backup if one was made, or the 26th incremental backup, and that's as up to date as you can be. A differential backup creates a single file. You can update that every day you use the computer at the end of the day. It will, the first time, it's going to be pretty small, but it keeps getting bigger, 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 and bigger, and it only keeps the most current version of each file that has either been created, modified, or deleted. Keeps track of that. But it doesn't give you the ability to have a time-related backup. Some people rely upon it, so they'll use the incremental for that because maybe 5 days ago I had a version that was better than the one I got right now, or the one I got right now is so hosed up I can't make heads or tails of it. So they go back 5 days on the incremental, they pull out that one file, put it back on their system as is, and then start modifying it. There are people that need to do that kind of stuff. It's a revisionist type of a backup, but I don't need myself that. So if I use anything, I'll use differential. But even these days, for me, I use just the system full disk backup, and that's it. Any questions, comments? Well, it's almost my bedtime. I don't have a handout today. Most of the meetings that I do, I usually have a handout, and I'll put it in the chat. Do you know how, Will, to get to the chat and then get a downloaded file?
Well, I've done it in the past, but if we don't have one, I don't need to do it now.
No, well, I don't have one to give you now, so that's it. But I mean, that's the file. When I have a handout, it goes in the chat, and then everybody can click on that downloaded file and put a copy on their own machine.
Okay, that's good to know.
That handout usually works like my more FYIs if you ever saw those.
Right.
All right. Well, if Bob, I almost missed you.
You're muted.
You gotta be kidding.
There we go. I just want to point out that I put into chat, I a link to kind of an interesting Reddit thread, fairly recent, about business class used laptops and PCs, and where and how to get a hold of them and how to evaluate them.
Very good.
So it's a discussion type of thing, so
Yeah.
it's not just somebody,
Yeah,
some
Reddit.
tech writer.
Reddit is like an ongoing chat line, a BBS.
Yeah, and it contains a lot of interesting links to places that should still be up and running.
Yeah, because it's not always that clear and easy. There are certain makers and models, you know that you're getting a business class machine. That's the main thing. But it's, I'll say at the moment, HP, Dell, Asus, which took over Nuxus for Intel, uh, some of their machines are business class, but not all. And you have Lenovo. I know those four, and there are a few others, but they're lesser known brands.
Yeah, Dell Optiplex is good. With HP, it's awfully difficult to tell just by seeing the model number whether it's a business class or a consumer
No,
class
it's
machine.
you
You
gotta
have to
hit
kind of know your way around.
you there. It's by the title: Elite Book, Elite Desk, Elite Pro. Those are the keys for HP devices. Dell, for their business class, I think they're all Optiplex and Precision and Edge. I think it's called Edge. They,
There may still be those.
yeah.
What, uh,
Okay, Dennis.
yeah, well, one of the other things that it lists on that, I was reading that website that Bob posted, and somebody else made the comment that you can probably tell um, if the machine is coming with Pro versus home operating system. All business class are going to have Pro.
No,
Not.
that's not 100% true.
Oh no.
If it's got home on it, it is consumer class, period. If it's pro, it could be either.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
hell, I got a bunch of consumer class machines still. They're running pro too. I can
Okay.
put pro on anything.
Okay.
So can the manufacturers. And that's another little inside thing. In laptops and the purchase off the shelf desktops, they have there's no stickers for license numbers. They did away with that 10 years ago. There's a chip inside on the motherboard that has your license number, and it knows whether it's a home or a pro. If it's a home, you can wipe it out and install a pro, but you got to have the pro key because Microsoft gives you the Windows Home and Pro on one image, but there's no key. You have to buy the key separately.
The other thing, when you were going through some of your screens, Tim, I was just curious. You went by one that said you were testing DuckDuckGo Boost package or something.
Boost.
What was that?
It's a part of DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo created originally a a search engine that searches the internet just like Google does,
Right.
and but with less ads. In fact, originally it had no ads, but now they have at least a few. And there's the booster for that. But DuckDuckGo also makes a browser as well, but you can't add extensions to it. Wrong hand. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, sorry, wrong hand. How's that one?
Yeah, that's better.
All right. Do you have a suggestion on where I should be looking online for machines?
Uh, since you're really not that far from I think the Westmont Micro Center store, you might look and see what they've got there. Amazon is a big one, but there you have to understand when you go to a machine, they're trying to sell you the brand new machine. But if you look down, you'll see that there are other vendors selling the product, and some of those are new, some of them are refurbished or
Yep.
just plain used, and you can get a discount. It's kind of like buying a brand new car. As soon as you drive it off the dealer's lot, it depreciates.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's one. You can also go to eBay, see what's available. There, I would specify that you either want a laptop or a desktop with Windows 11. Now, you can either just leave it Windows 11 or say Windows 11 Home or 11 Pro. That's your choice. And it'll try and show you the machines. But I'll tell you right now, some of the vendors either need more sleep or they just don't use their brain when they're making these postings. And sometimes you have things pop up in the list that have nothing to do with what you were looking for. And then you got to watch for shipping charges. Shipping charges should be a reasonable price, but there are some, especially for when you get into desktop type machines, they get higher. Well, some go bananas. And you got to remember in eBay, it's international marketplace. So you see China, Latvia, Lithuania, Italy, etc., Canada. I've never
Yeah.
seen Mexico though. But there's a selection on the left side column that says U.S. only. I frequently use it, but I will sometimes go with Canada on something. But the Canadian shipping cost is much higher. Period. And so you got to want it real bad to pay that extra cost. Then you have the Chinas. Which China is it? Some of the vendors related to China set up in Hong Kong venues also, and until they got taken over, and many of them also made a one in Taiwan. So you don't know exactly all the time where is it coming from. Taiwan is not being slapped with tariffs. Okay,
Right. Yeah.
so if you can determine it's coming from Taiwan, odds are you'll get reasonable rates, and they can give you stuff that you can't get anywhere else. But sometimes it's only mainland China or Hong Kong that have it, and they're slapped with tariffs. So you got to remember
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, I understand that. You just said the home or the pro. Now, are you talking about the consumer and the business?
Yes, you can put a home on anything that you want as long as you have a home key. If now, if the machine has its own built-in key and it wants home, it will only install home. If you want to change it to Pro, you have to get a copy from Microsoft of the Pro, and then you have to buy a key so that after you update to 11 Pro on that same machine, and you want to do this early, very early, you would then say, I want to change the key and type in the key that you purchased. And as long as it's good, you're on 11 Pro. But if you're not concerned. A lot of people aren't concerned whether they got the Home or the Pro.
Okay, so the Pro would be more uh, not
No,
the business version?
well, it's usually a business version, yes, but it has some features Home doesn't have. And one thing most of you probably don't know, Windows comes from Windows Server world, and then they take out certain features and make Windows Pro. Then they take out more features and make Windows Home. So a lot is in common, and each of the other two versions have features you may or may not want and need.
Okay,
It's hard to explain it beyond that. And you
all
got an
right.
enterprise version, which is not the server class. And enterprise comes with the kitchen sink and the house because you're going to pay through the nose. It's per seat that usually comes with enterprise, along with
Okay.
servers.
Ellie, you know how long I keep the machine, and I want to get the better quality machine.
Well, the better quality is fine. I think your tower is business class or was, but that laptop is not. That's consumer class.
Okay,
I can tell you that right now. Uh, well, I mean, you have an HP like I've got, and it was a business class, and that's a business class. You could probably run 1123H2 on it, but if I'm right, and I would have to know the exact processor that's in there, uh, I don't think you could run 24H2.
well, both of these machines have 24H2 on them, but
Both,
not 11.
there is no 24H210. Never has been. They stopped the number at 22H2 for 10. There's no 23H2, no 24H2, period. And 11 starts off with 21 and then 22, 23, and now 24.
Okay, I won't argue with you, but I'm going to check what it says.
You'll lose.
I'm not arguing. Okay,
It's just a case. 10, all 10s stopped at 22H2. All they're
22.
giving you is bug fixes and security patches and nothing new except for like Copilot. They put Copilot on. And
I know.
and on 11, Notepad has tabs and 10 does not. With 24H2, WordPad that's been on Windows machines going back to Windows 3 is gone.
Okay,
I use WordPad quite a bit. It's an RTF file, and almost anybody can open it up and have links. I could do the same thing with PDF, but I prefer not to go through all the conversion crap that I have to.
You can copy WordPad from a previous version and just bring it forward to another. Is a program copyable to bring over forward?
Usually not. And
No.
here's the simple reason. You can copy the folder of files, but that's it. It won't run.
Huh.
It's not installed. You have to go through an install process, and you're not going to find an install of the old version. However, in the Microsoft Store, there are some programs free that you have to look at, and I did get one. Hang on a minute. Can't remember if I think that's it. No, that's a different one. Oh, yes, it is the one. Uh, I downloaded one called IVIRIUS space text space editor. So starting with 24H2, if you want to use a WordPad, that's what you got to use. But they're adding features to Notepad that make Notepad into a text only uh, way of making notes and stuff. WordPad always allowed for hyperlinks and images.
Yeah.
That's one of the big differences. So you have to look at what's out there to see what's viable for your needs. Anybody got anything last minute stuff to ask or mention? I've got one thing. Okay, since you guys got nothing, next Tuesday it'll be TNT. I honestly don't know if Sanford will be back or not. I hope he is. Otherwise, I'll end up doing the whole month except for Ed Keating's meeting. And then a week from next Tuesday is South Suburban. On that same week's Thursday is Ed Keating's Northwest Computer Club. And 2 weeks from this coming Tuesday, where the TNT SIG is at, is the Linux SIG. Anybody got anything else last minute? Quit yawning. Jiminy Christmas. That's a contagious disease. All right. Then I'll be calling it quits.